And just like that, the action on Overdrive is set to return with the next match in a few minutes. It will be VaBene away for Relegation Prime versus Aurora SKUF, which is Nitek and VaBene. Again, the stakes are the same. A spot in Division 2 is up for grabs, and this time we had a bit of a caster swap. Tobal has decided to get a little bit of rest, and I'm joined by the one and only Nicolas Simon, aka Legion 2K. How are we doing, buddy?
How's it going? I can make sure I look the right way. I did. Did I? No, other way.
It's always a bit awkward. Yeah, doing all right.
It's a little backwards. No, it's good to be back in the booth. It's been quite a while. I was kind of passively watching it, so I'm not entirely up to speed. But from what I saw on the occasional lookovers, it did look like it was a pretty good match. But of course, we got to keep the gears moving forward with this match for a spot in Division 2 with Aurora SKUF and what was it? It was VaBene. VaBene. See, you gotta.
VaBene. I have to do. We have to do the stereotypical thing.
Yeah, you have the Italian last name too, so like I feel like
I mean,
it
makes sense. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Like, ironically, I've been thinking of picking up Italian as a language myself, but maybe I'm a bit too old to pick that up. But anyway, let's get back. Let's get out of language talk and get back to racing talk. As we said, there is a Division 2 spot up for grabs, and just to give a little bit of a sense of what teams we're dealing with here, VaBene finished 8th in the Division 2 standings. In fact, I think we should be able to take a look at those standings. There are the detailed standings. VaBene, who have won one match in the entire season, 11 maps won, 25 lost. And yeah, as far as the Aurora SKUF team is concerned, they made their way through the rungs, basically winning the open qualifiers on the APAC region and then winning the APAC Continentals. They played the grand final against JS and Booney from Team Trackmania Western Australia Casual. And Nitek and VaBene won that match on a 3-0 score. 12-5 on Brazil, 11-3 on USA, and 10-4 on Greece. Just to give you a little bit of a rundown. And VaBene, away for Relegation Prime, the all-Italian duo, looking to try and maybe put up a bit more of a fighting chance compared to what we saw Evolupa play against Brothers. It was always going to be a bit more one-sided than what we thought. It turned out pretty much how I predicted it to be, with one map going the way of the opposing team. Do you think it's going to be the same song and dance here, or is it going to be better, or is it going to be worse?
See, here's the thing, is that you have VB already sitting in Division 2. They already have their own little piece of land that they're working with. And I mean, it hasn't been the best season, obviously, as we saw. They've been beaten down. They've been absolutely battered. Aurora SKUF, I'd say maybe their route was a little different when you look at sort of that Asia Pacific region. It is, not to be disrespectful, of course, but compared to like North America and Europe, it's a little bit less developed. There's not as much competition. So you can make the argument that, oh, Aurora SKUF, you know, maybe they had a little bit of an easier time getting to where they needed to go. But VB has the claim of, hey, we already made it to the big table. We don't have to go through all these open qualifiers or these regional things to get there. So I think this might be VB's chance to maybe pick something up and sort of show that they still have what it takes to stay in Division 2. I don't think it'll be easy by any means, but I'm not going to entirely count them out just because of, you know, the history they've had with all the other teams in their division.
You do make a good point about the fact that the APAC scene is not quite as developed as even the NCSA scene for some respects, but in that sense, Nitek and VaBene are a bit of trailblazers in their own region. They're showing the way forward, and they're also effectively they've become the archetype of the team to beat if you want to be considered as a potent force or as a serious force to be reckoned with over on their side. That's why I've been following, for instance, the TM Fastcast, the ones from so Archie and Maito, who've been broadcasting some of the open qualifiers of Overdrive over in the APAC region, and this is. They always take that's Aurora SKUF duo, or formerly just SKUF Gaming duo, as a sort of like a beacon of light, just trying to find themselves, okay, this is the bar that we have to set, and try to kind of get closer to them whilst keeping our own vibe. I guess it's true for the Australian contingent, and these guys have vibes too, like vibes in spades, I guess we can call it that, with some of the competitions that I've seen. But honestly, the APAC region, much like it was back in 2023, is back in that sort of sense of like trying to burgeon a little bit more, and it's teams like that that will allow them to kind of get a little bit of a glimmer of hope and get them on the saddle to improve. And here it's going to be a very big litmus test for both Nitek and VaBene, not only for themselves but also for APAC, because they have someone to look up for and to cheer for, to see, hey, our region has the chops to go into Division 2 too. It's not just the EU and NCSA up in this business.
I know, but it's still something I would be a little apprehensive to fully wrap my hands around, per se. if God, I don't really know how to put this, and I will not try it right now. I do not have the words. So I think they have a good shot, but again, I'd maybe have to give it over to VB. Of course,
Hmm.
you know, away Fritish and iPrime, we've seen a decent bit of. I'd say I think I've played with Fritish more in Cup of the Day than I actually have in they're actually seeing him play in competition. So this will be new to me. But with you said with Nitek and Bimmy sort of being that beacon of the APAC region, is yeah, everybody has something to look up to and try and beat. I mean, you know, we see Carl Jr., for example, 7-time world champion. Everybody wants to beat him, and he'll push that envelope a little bit further each time. So to have a team like Nitek Bimmy, yeah, I think they've been a good team to have in that region. But again, it's as far as I'm concerned, this is the first time these two teams have actually met. I don't think there's been any other time in any other competition where these four players have been in the same server together. So how they're going to interact, it's going to be a very much hit the ground running type of game. Everybody's going to have to figure out how everybody else handles a situation like this and sort of adjust their strategy to compensate. And that's definitely going to cause a few mishaps along the way. We're probably going to see, I'd say, maybe a bit more crashing throughout the rounds as we would, you know, see for, or more than we would see for other matchups, maybe well-established duos and teams. So how everything plays out here with a new set of downs, let's say, will be interesting. But into the pick and ban phase, well, I guess the pick and we pick phase, VB will have that first pick simply because, well, they are technically higher on the rankings than their opponents.
Well, again, a quick reminder of the pro tip: whoever's on the blue side, generally has the higher seed when it comes to 2v2 matches. The Trackmania World Tour game mode. It will be away Fritish who will be picking the opening map in this rotation. It is going to be also pondering his map choice in a little bit. And we're going to be starting off on USA as our first map, followed along by Brazil, locked in by Nitek.
Over to Greece for the third map. So it looks like you're getting North and South America out of the way first. They just want to get those maps done and dusted. And Greece was a very quick response there. Both Aurora players knew what they wanted to go. VB, they took about 30 seconds to get their first map pick. I don't think that's the longest we've ever seen a team take to pick a map pick, but it is definitely, I'd say, a little out of the ordinary. They're trying to sort of gauge their opponents based on presumptions and predictions, but France will be the fourth pick and China decider if we need it. G-Geek, I gotta ask a question now that we have our maps locked and loaded. Do we see a map number 5?
I do not think so, and I'm kind of doubtful that we even going to see Game 4. I have a lot of confidence in the Nitek and Bimmy pairing, because one thing that some people might have missed is that these are not just the people that are just showed up from the street. These are Nitek and Bimmy are extremely strong competitors, not just in their region, but in the world of Trackmania outright. They've also been participating in the Trackmania games a little bit earlier this year with Russia. Nitek was the team captain for Russia. Nitek is among the people. I think he had a tech background, if I'm not mistaken. I might be a little bit off on that one. I might be confusing with Nero. But Russia has had some pretty good players, both in past and present, and very much in the present. Nitek and Bimmy are at the forefront and can very much rub shoulders with some of the European talents. So I have a feeling that Aurora SKUF on the red side might try to make it a 3-map deal. Map 4 could be on the cards. Map 5, I just don't see it.
Yeah, it is. You were correct about saying Nitek has a tech background, as that's what he was doing in the games, and he had a mixed solo, a fast learner, and a mixed duo. So he's got a pretty wide spread when it comes to what he's capable of, and I think he might be sort of the rock for this team. Bimmy, I don't think will be as much of a pushover or a bit of odd weight, let's say. But I'm ready to see how this goes down. Effectively, Team Italy versus Team Russia here for a promo to Division 2 for one team. It is going to be holding on to that Division 2 spot, and for the other, well, I'd be fine with the promotion. I'm sure they would too.
They would be too, as well, as we are about to get racing with 50 seconds remaining on the warm-up on USA, and this gives us a good opportunity to see the times of everyone. We got a .696, 102, .696 for Away Fritish as the personal best, .926 for iPrime. Bimmy is currently off the pace on a 103.354, but Nitek on a .707 is right up there with Fritish's personal best on the public leaderboard. So I think there stands to reason that there could be some damage dealt by the right side early on here in this first map.
Right, but if you have Nitek who has such a pace advantage over his teammate and is able to, swing with Prime and Fritish there, at best, if you can't win the match out or win the rounds outright, just try and tire your opponent down with those draws. That's sort of the one thing that I don't really think it's talked about, is that even if you get a draw, it can still be mentally draining regardless of what side you're on. If you're on the side that was gonna win that round, then all of a sudden, well, now you're getting a point. That's a hit to your mental game because, oh, we could have gotten 3 points or 2 points, but now we're just gonna get 1. That sucks. And if you're on the other side of that equation, well, you're gonna find yourself maybe a little bit more mentally drained because you had to push it a little bit harder, as we do see Fritish making that first mistake, and that does just give Bimmy and Nitek all the room they need to run. So it's the first round. There's still plenty more Trackmania to play, but I could see draws becoming a major factor here if things go a certain direction. Not quite sideways, but pick your favorite orientation and go from there.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to end it on that, as already in this first round, it was away Fritish going a little bit too tight on that turn after the dirt part and hitting the sign. Meanwhile, iPrime sliding out in the dirt flick and will be forced to respawn as he hit the breeze block on his first attempt. And with that, it will be just a free 3-point deal for Aurora SKUF, as Nitek will lead his teammate Bimmy by over half a second. And I'm kind of curious to see what the stopwatch will say at the end of this opening round, as Bimmy clips the end of the girders, but will be recovering in time to avoid getting sniped by iPrime at the finish. So it will be a 3-0 scoreline. We're starting off on a pretty sedate stride, I should say. A 103.150 is among the lower end in terms of round matching pace. But again, first round, first maps, maybe even like first match in a lot of time, possibly in 2 weeks' time for some of these teams. You gotta find your bearings again.
You really do. The rust is sort of locked onto you. You got to take some time to shake it off. And in situations like this, you don't really have that much time when you come out of the gate swinging with an ace, as Aurora got off of basically a double or 2 respawns from the VB lineup. They seem to be hitting their strides quite early. VB, maybe that pasta needs to cook just a little bit longer to get it al dente. And this round so far has gone pretty well for them. I think they're just going to use that first round as maybe a little bit of a one-off. Oh, Nitek slides out there on the dirt, has to respawn, and Bimmy was already pretty slow in this round. So now it is going to be Fritish and Prime leading the way here as we get into the identity section. Prime not getting that slide, but it doesn't really matter. He's got a second between himself and Bimmy. And what was a red-sided ace will be matched by a blue-sided ace. So what was looking like maybe Aurora coming out of the gates hot, they've been cooled down pretty quickly, as we are now tied 3-3.
Yeah, it seems as though they threw the spaghetti at the wall, and it's stuck on the second round for VaBene, as they managed to deal the counter ace for the red side. Going into round number 3, it will be very interesting to see how Nitek and Bimmy bounce back from that. Nitek, that was just a very unfortunate slide out midway through the dirt flick on that previous round that kind of kicked everything off, as Bimmy was not really in a position to make any kind of attack stick whatsoever, who also had troubles of his own. He will be forced to respawn, as that clip on the landing of the quarter pipe kind of forced his car to take a bit too much airtime and sent it all the way across the block, and completely without any way to save this, falling to his doom. And it will be up to Nitek now to enforce a draw, at the very least get a point home to prevent the Italian duo from sprinting away into the distance, although Fritish will make the job a little bit easier for the red side as he clipped the wall before the ice patch and the dirt flick. It's still iPrime and Nitek side by side as we go onto the identity. It will be Nitek by the slimmest of margins, 7 milliseconds at the splits. He goes for a triple point turn, going for the full apex on the first turn of the identity, and he pulls a gap of 2/10, which gets almost annihilated, and he will not get the finish at the right time. Full stop picking into the gate, delaying the finish trigger. iPrime will take the victory and allow the blue side to take the lead in an absolutely zany last couple corners.
Nitek clipped the platform as he was coming up the hill. He tried to, cut down the airtime and go diagonally, but it was just a little too steep of an angle. and that's what upset the car, and that's what changed that trajectory ever so slightly, and was, well, the result that you saw there. So I don't think he's going to let that bother him too much. It's one round. It's, you know, it's whatever. He put up a damn good fight there right up until the end. And in racing, you know, if you've been keeping up, of course, it's sometimes decided by the slimmest of margins. Look at the Indy 500 this year, the closest finish that we had seen in the history of the event. But as we get into our fourth round here, Nitek really giving Friedrich a run for his money. I guess I am not familiar with Nitek's game because, boy, does he know ball. And he is absolutely sending it a little too inside, though. I spoke a little too soon. Maybe just got to get my caster curse rust off as well. But he's going to try and fight back. It's around I Prime. If he can get Friedrich to make a mistake here, he would potentially get around victories. He goes too inside, but there's Bimmy to back up his teammate. Now it's going to be I Prime versus Nitek, and I Prime goes a little too wide, so it will be the draw here, in keeping VB in the lead. Aurora, this could have gone worse for them, but thankfully they do come out the other side with a single point for their effort, and more importantly, keeping it within a point for their opponents.
I gotta say, a couple of rounds ago, you were talking about the Indy 500 finish, but Nitek didn't get Malukas. I think he got more McLaughlin than Malukas, given that he crashed into the finish gate. He did not get outright sniped. He didn't, for instance, I think it was I Prime. He did not pull a Rosenquist there to get that round win, in my opinion. Meanwhile, on the previous round, Nitek trying to go full inside, trying to pull the same kind of trick that Leclerc or Verstappen pulled in Monaco during the qualifying runs, going into the swimming pool chicane, trying to move the wall out of the way with the front of the car, but that's not how it works in Trackmania, and he actually paid the price for it. Luckily for him, Bimmy managed to secure that second position, and also lucky for him that I Prime had messed up, but a big mess up on the part of Nitek and the part of the ice, completely wiping that advantage away, allowing Friedrich to move up into the lead, thus allowing VaBene to potentially keep that 1-point lead intact. I Prime is at the bottom of the leaderboard, 3/10 down, and continuing to pile the pressure on the Russian duo, and we missed the slide altogether, clipping the helper, putting the car into a wheel stand for Nitek. Bimmy will take advantage of a clip from Friedrich right at the final corner. This is a place which is so common to see clips happen and snipes resulting from that happen, and Bimmy will thus keep that 1-point gap alive, 7-6. It will be map point attempt number 1 for VaBene.
I gotta say, both of the players of Bimmy and Nitek, they've got each other's backs covered. One of them makes a mistake, the other one comes in to sort of clean it up and make sure they don't look too dumb as they are able to get some bonus points. There was a great last section there from Bimmy. Kept it right up to the end, never gave up, kept pushing. And as we go into this round, it is still that 1-point advantage for VB. If they get an ace here, we're going to be going to map number 2, and they'll actually win their map pick. I was a little worried at the start when Aurora SKUF came in with an ace. I thought, oh boy, losing your map pick is never the way to go. And as we slide through the ice and through the dirt, it is going to be a 3-horse battle right now for second, as it is going to be Nitek pulling away. Bimmy's going to go a little bit on the inside. He's now finding himself between both VB members. He starts the attack. He gets around Prime. He's got Friedrich in his sights. He's going to get around him. One more drift to go. Friedrich is going to clip the edge, and that's going to be giving AS an ace here to go up 9-7. That was a hell of a push from Bimmy. He wanted to put the fire onto VaBene, and that's what happens. And now double track point. All it's going to take is a draw, and it will be red team getting this first map.
Final round of the first map, because it only takes a second place individually for SKUF. They can even take a round defeat, as it were, and thus still take away the map with a 1-point lead. VaBene have to ace no matter what if they want to win their own map pick. And yeah, Bimmy playing the format beautifully and actually piling the pressure really hard on Friedrich in that final part of the previous round. I'm pretty sure he could feel him breathing down his neck as he tried to compensate for that. Did not get the slide properly and clipped at the inside, which prompted Bimmy to move up a place and thus get the ace secured for Aurora SKUF. But right now he's in the wars along with I Prime and away Friedrich. Meanwhile, Nitek continues to validate the round, and look at how close he got to the breeze block at the exit of the dirt flick. How did he get away with it? It seems as though we're cutting pretty close in terms of margins, and Bimmy now slides back down to the bottom of the leaderboard. 1-4. This is the round that is needed for Aurora SKUF. That's not what's needed, though, with Bimmy forced to respawn. Nitek down to third. Prime versus Nitek. It will be VaBene rescuing victory from the jaws of defeat after an identity where once again everything kicked off, and it all set off at the second corner where we saw clips galore with the respawn from VaBene, and then Nitek with the speed that was lost due to that clip, seeing both Friedrich go past as well as iPrime. And with that, it will be going to map number 2, the first of 2 Aurora picks. They'll be looking to make amends after throwing a couple of very important rounds of the bin, and we're going to be going to Brazil as map number 2.
I cannot believe that. Can we I don't know, the crystal ball is broken. I did not expect that. I thought for sure Aurora SKUF they were just going to take it easy. You know, you're already 1 point away. Just get a draw, get a round defeat. It won't matter. Your opponent's going to come up short regardless. I think Nitek maybe got a little too comfortable up there and decided to get a little bit sloppy with it. I'm guilty of that myself on many occasions on many different games. But, I mean, that is absolute heartbreak. You were right there. You could have taken your opponent's map 1 pick, and you want to talk about the psychological aspects of that. We've seen entire teams just crumble because they lose on their first map pick, but VB gets out of it by the slimmest of margins, and now, well, it's all on Aurora SKUF to respond with their map pick of Brazil.
Yeah, map pick of Brazil, taking a look at the times, a 104.197 personal best for VaBene, a 104.132 for Nitek, away Friedrich on a .237, and iPrime on a .107. And in the meantime, I think I did see a couple of names pop up in the chat that I think we should congratulate for their performance earlier on. Bestie and Hale, congratulations on you two, the brothers duo, for making their way through to Division 2 and their victory earlier tonight against Evolupa. Fully deserved, and we're looking forward to see you compete in Split 2 later on during the year as Map 2 gets underway.
The first round of who knows how many here. VB with the advantage, 1 map to nothing, winning that absolute nail-biter on USA. This is the Aurora SKUF pick here. Map 2 of potentially 5 in this matchup. We're still playing for that spot in Division number 2, and right now it is going to be the red side leading it, not by much, by just enough, as Bimmy gets away with a little bit of a touch there on one of the light poles, so very lucky to not completely crash and go full stopic, because that would have put him well and truly out of the round. He's only got half a second to overcome right now based on the last checkpoint, but we have seen players close even larger gaps before, so we'll see if he's able to just keep it clean, keep it quick, or maybe if one of the VB lineup is going to make a mistake of their own. Nitek leading it, though, as we get into the final sector here. It is all Hydro Thunder here as we roar across the shorelines. A little bit of a straight edge line there from Friedrich to get the overtake on his teammate, but it will not matter because it's actually going to be Bimmy fighting back and grabbing 3rd place away from iPrime. We didn't even see that one happen. So Aurora getting that round victory.
Seems like iPrime might have rolled off a corner a little bit wide, whereas VaBene managed to get a little bit more of a spiky approach in a later apex at the final corner, which allows him to move up to 3rd, and thus Aurora SKUF take the early lead here in their own map pick after round number 1. Going through the loop, who will get the best start? It will be iPrime ahead of the Nitek VaBene duo after the jump, but then the gaps are quite a bit shrunk down as we go at the end of sector number 1. It will be Friedrich with an appalling start, finding himself half a second back as we go for the first glider part.
And again, it is Nitek just holding that line for his team, trying to hold back iPrime and Friedrich. And actually, it has he's gotten some support now as they're all back together. It's Prime now trying to break things up a little bit here. See if he can maybe get a draw, get a response in, something if anything. Going for a shallower line. Oh, well, there it is. You just get a little bit too ambitious on the shorelines, and that ship's sinking right quick.
It's sunk right quick indeed, and Bimmy will be clocking in a 104.7. We're right in the slower part of the range when it comes to round times, but that's okay. It's not pretty, but it gets the job done, is what we say whenever those kind of rounds happen. Here on Overdrive, it will be a 4-point lead for the red side, who try to make this potentially into a 4-round deal, and thus send VaBene a message saying, hey, we might have fumbled it a little bit on your map pick. You cannot take us lightly on our map picks, or maybe even your 4th map pick.
And we still potentially have that decider of China, a ANS have the next two, or this map and the next one, so they get those second and third map picks, but we do have, of course, a fourth and potentially fifth. So we'll see what happens here, but it's been a great start for everybody. It's Nitek actually getting the worst start of everybody. Almost 2/10 off of top one, but only a couple of hundredths as we go through the checkpoint. It's now Bimmy's turn to try and hold up the flag, but it has started to fall, as have the standards, and we will see iPrime and Fritish start to pull away a little bit. And actually, iPrime, he's got a little bit too much on his plate. How can he respond?
Well, he's going to have to respond pretty quick because he has Nitek right now waiting to pounce. So did Bimmy, who avoided a full stop pick in the first reactor part. Managed to get away with it, but lost a lot of pace at the wrong time. As Nitek avoids the slalom in between the rocks. Away Fritish in his sights. It will not be the draw enforced by Aurora SKUF for 44 milliseconds. Away Fritish resists the attacks of Nitek, and it will be the victory, allowing VaBene to take 2 points on the board and put the gap down from 4 to 3 points.
But importantly, Aurora and SKUF are still in the lead. They can afford a couple more round defeats, at least until they get to 9 points. Then it should be, if my math is correct, to be tied up at 9 points. But I'm sure someone out there who's a mathematician, who's got a PhD and all that, will be able to confirm or deny whether or not I'm correct. But enough about my math skills. It is still everything to play for here in this promo relegation match. And iPrime has fallen off the pace by quite a margin. An early mistake has put him out temporarily of this round, so it is laying on Fritish's hands to try and hold back both AS members to get a round draw to keep it at 3 points. But we have seen, of course, on this map, not just in this match, but in every single match I think we've seen thus far from the start of Overdrive, is that Brazil, I would say, is probably one of the more unforgiving maps, especially in this final sector, as Nitek taking the scenic route here, and way off in the distance he goes. That does give iPrime a chance to get the overtake, but is he going to hold that position as they go through the finish line? Yes, they do. So VB, another round victory for them, 2-1, 5-7 overall is the score line here, but importantly, ANS on that track point.
Yeah, and I gotta say, what happened there was it seemed as though Nitek went a little bit over the beach and did not account for the fact that gravity also makes its work over the course of the entire game, and what comes up comes back down, and it went down a little bit too hard and thus had the wheels dip into the water, which just triggers the absolute zoop that we've seen not only in the first, not only in that first reactor glider section, which we're going to be approaching in a few seconds, but also and the ending, which is what Nitek suffered from, and thus allowed VaBene to take the victory. Right now, it is going to be Fritish forced to respawn at the end of the first sector. Nitek in first, leading the round by almost 4/10 of a second. He sees his teammate try to catch up and try to tandem this together, but right now, Nitek on another different plane of competitiveness going into this round. He will be on the .705 split at checkpoint 13. This is roughly in the ballpark of what we'd expect in maybe Division 2 rounds when it comes to pace. If you're looking at a 45-3 split at checkpoint 13, then you're on a very stout time, dipping into the 103s. It's not going to be the case here, though, as iPrime is not able to catch back up. It will be Nitek and VaBene getting the ace and validating the first map pick on a 10-5 scoreline, a 104.808. Another great drum machine time, and a .814, I think it was, for Nitek after calculations. Pretty much business as usual as they expect it to roll out, despite maybe a couple of hiccups on a couple of rounds. It's all just going according to the game plan.
It is winning your map pick and tying the series up 1-1. We are going to be going to the next map, which will also be ANS's map pick. If I'm not mistaken, it is going to be Greece for map number 3. This is a map that I've really enjoyed watching. We've seen some absolutely hectic rounds, especially when you get into the identity here. We've seen players completely clip and lose it. We've seen players clip the edge and somehow keep going.
Yeah, and this is very much an old-school TMGL-esque map build. Like, when I say old school, I don't mean like 2023. I'm talking like very early on in the game's life cycle. We're talking fall 2020 or winter 2021. Even though this is a bespoke map for this map pack, it is definitely having that vibe because the first and second sectors feel a lot more consistent. You can get it down to a T pretty much round in, round out. But then as soon as you get past the dirt of checkpoint 12 through 13 and head towards the identity, the gloves are off and anything can happen, and all of your hard work that you put over the course of the first 2 sectors can come undone with just one bad landing on the Tetramino staircase drop.
Yeah, and even some of these other sectors, I know the NASCAR section has been particularly nasty for
yes,
some people.
Checkpoint 9 through 10, the double left-hander has been a killer.
It seems like it should be so simple, and that's kind of the one thing that people, I guess, who aren't familiar with NASCAR tend to think. It's like, oh, haha, NASCAR, you just turn left, hee hee XD, but then obviously you translate that over to here, and you're like, okay, just release. But it's so precise if you want the most speed out of it, and your line is different every round. It's not the same, and you're not going to be able to get it perfectly 100%, and you're talking millimeters, if even that, for changes in position. So how you take that line will change drastically. And like I said, we've seen, how many rounds have we seen people who just completely bin it at the NASCAR turn because they're just maybe just slightly off to the left a little bit more than they expect.
Yeah, too many to count, to be fair, when that NASCAR turn was involved. As we go into round 1 of map number 3, I had a little bit of a look at everyone's best times, and you can see the time from Nitek of 1:13.4. That is 2/10 clear of even the closest competitor on the VaBene side, which is iPrime on a 0.644. So the lead frontman from Aurora SKUF is definitely a force to be reckoned with as we go on sector number 3, checkpoint 9. Here comes the double left-hander NASCAR turn. A little bit of a lift there, and we have to do another lift on the part of Nitek. We came in with a bit too much speed, and that is the cue that VaBene needed to actually strike and trying to swarm the Russian player from Aurora SKUF as we see iPrime stick it all the way to the outside wall. Sprint car-esque maneuver on the part of iPrime to carry as much speed as he could at the exit. Going into checkpoint 14, the identity, it's still a three-way fight, and it can all go south really quickly. It does go south for iPrime, who clips at the second platform. Nitek takes first. VaBene trying to make it a fight for second. Away for this resists the final assault despite a late surge from VaBene on the run towards the finish line. It will be a victory for Aurora SKUF, and Nitek with a 113.923 dips below the 114 straight away.
VaBene had a much more advantageous landing. I don't know if you guys caught it, but his nose was pointed down.
Better nosedive, yeah.
Yep, got a much better nosedive, was able to start that acceleration sooner, but just not close enough to make a difference, but still an amazing round there. And of course, shout outs to Nitek for not letting the pressure get to him, holding on to the very end. He also had a later landing onto the penalty grass, I noticed, so he didn't lose speed as soon, so he was able to get that overtake. So that was an excellent bit of round control there from him. But as we get into the second round here, it is pretty much exactly what we expected before, what we saw before. As we head into the NASCAR section, Nitek hopefully going just for one release here as we go through the left-hander. There is one lift, and there's VaBene clipping barely the outside wall there, and that'll put him out of this round. He will thankfully be able to keep going, but he is going to be a mile and a half plus some change back from the rest of these guys. So it does all fall onto Nitek. And as I say that, he does clip the scenery. Now, it's not over yet. We have seen players make mistakes. I believe we saw Friedrich last round clipping the platform.
That was iPrime, and Friedrich managed to reach the finish line here. They were able to get from A to B. iPrime again under potential threat from Nitek, but that is the ace that VaBene needed to kind of rattle Aurora SKUF a little bit as Nitek fell victim to that clip of the scenery going too far from the left-hand side on the checkpoint 13-14 jump before that nosedive, before the identity. And VaBene, as you said, clipping the very edge of the wall on the exit of that double left-hander. It's also something that is so easy to do. Like, we take it for granted that you just get the release right and that's it. But the timing of the release is so narrow when you're traveling at the speeds that a stadium car travels at going into this corner. As we go on to round number 3, will be VaBene leading the charge right now. And at the end of sector 1, the Russian player will have a way finish right on his rear axle as Nitek battles with iPrime for third.
It's still very close to each other. Less than 0.2 of a second separates everybody, and now it's just under 1.5 tenths as we get ready to go into the NASCAR turn here. It is Prime, though, who does have prime position going in, and he is going to come out the other side ahead still. I think there might have been a slight double release there for Friedrich in the background, which put him off the pace. But VaBene and Nitek, though, staying close with iPrime here. First place, very wide line there from VaBene. Every little bit of speed he can extract out of that corner, and that brings him ever so closer.
Whoa, and iPrime
with the clip there on the hole in the ground. That puts Nitek and VaBene in an absolutely perfect position to get the ace, and there is going to be the respawn from iPrime. So there was no doubt in the minds of these two players at front that they were going to get 3 points, 0.6 of a second back for Friedrich. But Aurora SKUF, they are going to respond heavily with an ace to take the lead here, 5-4.
immediate counter ace. That is probably the best way that you could retaliate for Aurora SKUF, retaking the lead by a single point as we go on to round number 4. As we currently are on the perspective of VaBene, who's currently doing a job trying to play the format as best as he can. Doesn't have the best of, most flattering of stats so far in this match, as you can see at the bottom left. 26% crashes, 20% top ones. It is Nitek who's going to be going toe-to-toe with the way Fritish. Fritish has the best amount of top 1 finishes, a 40% win rate of rounds so far, and only a 13% rate of crashes, managing to stay himself afloat above last place most of the time. Right now looking to try and battle for the lead even with his teammate, and Nitek who gets a much better drop-down line from checkpoint 7 to retake the lead and pull a gap of a 10th.5 as VaBene looks to try and make the junction with the two VaBene players up ahead. iPrime forced to lift a little bit more as he went in a bit wide on that NASCAR turn from checkpoint 9 through 10. Checkpoint 11, VaBene continuing to try and find an aperture, finding an opening to try and put an attack on against the wave Fritish. It's currently looking like a very high-speed train with the cars kind of separated by around half a car length to a car length maximum. Nitek in the lead, going into the identity. iPrime in second. Can iPrime try to do something? No, but away Fritish will be clipping very heavily. So did iPrime midway through the identity, and with that, the ace will be given on a silver plate for Aurora SKUF, who now widen the gap to 4 points, 8-4 at the end of round 4 here for Aurora SKUF.
One round victory for them, rather, to close out their second map pick and hand the ball back to VB. And how that goes, well, I don't know. We'll have to see. But this has been a very strong response from Aurora. They were so offended at VB's second round that they said, you know what? Fine, we're going to do what you did, but we're going to do it twice. And that is a strong statement, as we do see Fritish having to respawn there. Drifted a little too much on the inside, so it all falls to iPrime here to stay in first, to guarantee one more round. VaBene and Nitek know this. They are going to maybe push, I wouldn't say right now, but definitely a little bit later, maybe lull iPrime into a false sense of security. You can see their gaps kind of faltering a little bit. So maybe
that was a bit of a close drop down midway through the map. It was a very close drop down on 2 occasions. Nitek going too far on the inside, and then the final drop down on that middle part. VaBene almost going too far off the outside and clipping the edge of the block, which we've seen a lot of people do as well. But right now they're on attack mode again, putting the pressure on iPrime. The Italian continuing to lead by over a 10th of a second. Nitek and VaBene in squadron formation, second and third right behind him. Going into the identity, iPrime sees VaBene resurge ahead as he came in with so much speed on the entry, and with that, the red side will play the format perfectly. VaBene with a 113.853 pips iPrime to first place by a 10th.5, and with Nitek in third, it will be a 10-5 score that sees Aurora win both of their map picks back-to-back.
I think iPrime, on that transition, when you get to the penalty grass, I think he just landed a little too early. I don't know. I know I've had that where my automatic brain kind of takes over and I go, yeah, I need to land early here, even though I shouldn't. I think that's what happened there. And that was all VaBene needed. That was the absolute perfect opening he needed to just slot on in and get that first place and giving Aurora SKUF that second map win. Because I got to say, VaBene came in out of nowhere. He had so much more speed than iPrime.
He came in high. He came in way hot. I was following the battle from behind, and then I saw him leap higher and further than anyone else. I was like, hold on, he's pulling. I'm gonna pull a very bad movie reference, but I'm pretty sure nobody's seen it. But like the early mid-2000s remake of the Dukes of Hazzard, I have that intro scene in mind. Like, this is basically what happened there with VaBene just leaping into the air right up ahead, almost as if you're trying to pull a vertical takedown if you were playing Burnout Revenge. Of course, in Trackmania that doesn't happen since there's no collision. That would be funny to see, actually, seeing takedowns on Trackmania. That would be neat as we go on to France.
Can you imagine getting like RKO'd in the middle of a cup? You're like, oh,
yeah,
man,
vertical takedown.
Yeah, then somebody just goes, nope, just drops the elbow. Oh my god. I mean, there are
death from above.
Oh, dude, I loved that mission. That was such a good mission. Oh man, no, you can do collisions in this game. It's a little wonky, but it does work.
Yeah, it's a bit jank, but whenever we play, like, I think it's also like specifically, I think it's Last Man Standing that likes to have collisions on. But yeah, collisions are they're always something a bit special when you have to deal with them in Trackmania, whenever there's the game modes appropriately done, of course. As we go on to map number 4, it is France. We're returning to a VaBene pick. VaBene 107.538 for iPrime, 0.718 for away Fritish. 0.425 for Nitek, 0.605 for VaBene. So roughly equivalent sort of pace gap between teammates, but the overall pace advantage the way of the red side.
Yeah, that's going to play massively in their favor. That's going to be something that VB is going to have to be aware of, that they are going to have to work extra hard to try and get a round win off of these guys. Because if they lose this map, it's over. They're done. They're out. It is going to be Aurora SKUF getting that Division 2 spot as Nitek goes a little bit wide. I think he should have enough for this transition, so he's not entirely gone, but he is not in a good spot in the slightest. He's only lost a couple of tenths, surprisingly, but it's all on VaBene to try and get ahead of Fritish as we head into the identity now. How do these players tackle the quarter pipes? We have seen all lefts, we have seen all rights, and it looks like Prime's going to go to the right. That's actually not going to work out in his favor. VaBene clips as well, and Nitek comes through. So from being off the pace, making the early mistake, Nitek keeps it clean and gets that first place away from Fritish, and it will be VaBene in third. Prime, I think he maybe had a small clip and just decided to commit to the right side, and well, we see what happens there. But this is a perfect start there from Aurora. Maybe not how they wanted to do it, but points don't lie.
Yeah, it feels like they suffered through a round win rather than anything else, as yeah, we saw VaBene clipping, and also VaBene not once but twice actually crashing very heavily on the final transfer, and it's a good thing for him that iPrime had to respawn at the very start of the identity, as we now see Fritish going over center on the sausage road, and VaBene with a clip before checkpoint number 3. The attrition is already hitting really hard, and we're not even through sector 1 just yet, as we follow along with iPrime and Nitek, who are going to be duking battle for the outcome of this round.
But still, there's not much to really worry about right now. The point split's only 1. Granted, that can fall apart very quickly as Prime. That was a weird slowdown from him. That just gifts Nitek a first place. Not that he's going to complain about giving a first place, but he is going to go wide there. Lucky to not bobble it as hard as we have seen in the past. And everyone else sort of stumbling their way across. It is iPrime right now leading from Nitek. Nitek needs to hope that there's some mistake coming out from iPrime as he again decides to go for the right side, and the right side only. It is going to work out because he is going to get that perfectly. Nitek, big hit there on the final transition, but still enough to make it across. So it will be the round victory response here for VB to go 3-all on Greece. They are not going to give this up without a fight.
They're not going to take this one lying down, indeed. And Nitek tried to go for the right. Well, he did not try to go for the right. He was kind of gauging his luck after, well, basically just clipping on the landing of the first transfer. And he was like, no, screw it. I'm just going to have to go to the left side, which is the safer strat, the conventional line that you would take through if you were discovering the map to make it through to the identity, as iPrime goes very close to the arch of the checkpoint at checkpoint number 3, and it will be VaBene with a numerical advantage. Currently, Nitek, the only driver from the red side, looking to try and kind of split the difference between the two VaBene players, as VaBene is completely out of the picture. 3 tenths down on the leading trio. That's a lot.
It really is, but it's not insurmountable. We have seen players come back from larger margins, and as iPrime made a mistake, I don't think he was able to clear it. As Fritish made that mistake. I apologize. Yeah, but VaBene's back in it already, so he has a chance to gain or secure a 2-point gain for Aurora and SKUF as we go into the identity once again. Nitek and Prime. I think we're going to go for the convention.
VaBene with a lot of speed.
VaBene, here he comes. Does he have a chance? He's got the overtake. Can he make this transition? He does. Is there enough speed for Prime? No, there's not. It's going to be the ace for Aurora and SKUF. 6-3 your scoreline here on France. We could potentially be seeing VB get relegated and Aurora and SKUF usurping that spot in Division 2. They've just got 4 points to finish up.
I gotta say, I saw that lead up to that attack from VaBene, and he carried so much speed from the landing of the first transfer all the way into the jump into the second transfer. I think he had maybe 15 to 20 Ks of difference at the very least that allowed him to pull that move and thus guarantee the ace for Aurora SKUF. So far, it is going to be VaBene with a better start. iPrime trying to pull away from the rest of the field. Away Fritish currently second, about 10th down. And then we see Nitek also trying to chase down Away Fritish as we go through the long left-hander before checkpoint 7. And it will be a 3-way fight for the lead still. And VaBene also within touching distance after the double jumps in the dirt before checkpoint 8, the start of sector number 3. Fritish with a great exit from the dirt takes the lead. And now iPrime in the wars, fighting tooth and nail against Nitek. for second place. It's still a three-way fight for the lead as we go onto the identity. And we see a big clip from iPrime promoting VaBene up into third. Nitek will take away Fridish's second place. Can VaBene try to make it an ace? The answer is a no until we see a clip from Fridish, but the gap is already way too consequential for VaBene to do anything about it. Still, it will be the victory on this round going the way of Aurora SKUF. 8-4 for the red side, who are on match point attempt number 1.
One round victory is all it's going to take for ANS to get promoted up to Division 2, and I will have to do some apologizing to them if that is the case, because they have put on one hell of a performance here. I was fully expecting us to see back and forth rounds throughout every single map. It would have been, you know, we go into the final map. Bimmy, oh, making a mistake, and I think that was no, there wasn't someone else. It was a ghost car I think I saw. So
yeah,
it is.
this is the weird thing about France, is that whenever you whenever you see someone respawning, there's a ghost car right next to him. And you're like, what's going on? This has put me off more than once. Whenever I was trying to spectate France, this is not new, and you're not the last one to be caught out by that one as well.
Well, this is just proof that France is a little bit nefarious, let's say. As we get into the end here, VB, if they can get an ace here, that'd be perfect. That would put him 1 point behind Aurora and SKUF, but Nitek, all he has to do is get second place, and he is going to break that point split up and put his team on British. One more. Are you kidding me? It is going to be a clip. It is going to be the draw here for Aurora SKUF. They are going to keep it just closer, even closer of a margin to victory. VB needs an ace and then a round win to pull overtime, or 2 aces to take this map. What is happening?
They have to put the mother of all comebacks on the table now on the blue side if they want to keep that fight for a Division 2 spot alive and get another shot at competing against the likes of Team Heretics, Team Ragnarok, Team BS Plus, Pivo, and it looks as though the job will be a little bit easier as Nitek clipped on the inside of the corner before checkpoint number 3, leaving Bimmy to his own devices to try and guarantee second place. iPrime still in the lead, trying to attempt a no slide, or maybe just my illusion, being a little bit illusioned there by the perspective I had from Bimmy as to what iPrime was doing up front as we go into checkpoint number 6. The Wayfrish very aggressive on the turn into checkpoint 6, and iPrime losing speed and losing time. Hand over fist has his teammate take over the slack, and we now see iPrime in the wars trying to fend off the attack of Bimmy, who's looking desperately for an aperture to try and see second place away, which would completely end the deal as we go into the identity side by side. iPrime and Fridish slowing down compared to Bimmy. Look at the attack from the Russian player. Can opt to go for the left side, but he clips way hard. And Fridish and iPrime corkscrews out of the pipe. And with that, it will be the draw in force. And it is on a 10-6 score that Aurora SKUF take the weight on France, and on a 3-1 scoreline overall that Nitek and Bimmy will be promoted to Division 2 in the next split of Overdrive. What on earth have we just seen, Nick? That was just, it took a bit of brain power to keep tabs on everything that was going on there. And I think you'll be in the same position as I was if you were having to take that round as well.
I would agree with you, Thomas. First off, I'd like to apologize, sincerely apologize to our Russian friends. I am so sorry for doubting you. I am thoroughly impressed. France's identity, I will say, France for the most part, through the round itself, 95% of it is pretty standard procedure, I would say. It's not crazy, it's not super, surprising, but it's the identity. The identity has always proven to be one of the craziest. I don't think it would be probably the hardest or the most unpredictable as, say, like Brazil, but it is definitely one of those that has given us some incredible final rounds, last second dashes in these matches from the very start of Overdrive to now. I couldn't have predicted that. And I was expecting maybe like a 1 point difference like we saw in USA, but I was unfortunately proven wrong. It was VB won that first match 10-9, and then they lost maps 2 and 3, 5-10, and then 6-10 on France. So congrats to the ANS lineup, and unfortunately with VB, I believe they are now relegated down to open qualifiers if they want to get back.
Yes, exactly. That is the standard procedure. With Aurora SKUF moving into Division 2, VaBene, if they want to qualify again for Division 2, they have to play Split 2's open qualifiers. They have to go through the same process that Aurora SKUF went through, and that a little bit earlier on the brothers went through. They have to qualify one of the open qualifiers and then play the Continentals and win, or win their Continental, finish second in their Continentals for the EMEA region to get a shot at the promo rank matches for Split 2. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on and a very long road ahead for the Italians if they want to return to the fold. But that is going to be it for this first segment of the broadcast, and as Laura has pointed out in the chat, there is going to be a quick cut of the stream. Don't worry, it's going to be lasting only a few seconds, as we're going to be having a little bit of a producer swap, and also in the same time a bit of a caster swap. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a back seat in the proceedings and also completely down this wonderful drink. I have less than a liter left, and I think I'm going to need all of it. As next up, it will be Promo Regs match number 3, the last Promo Regs match that we're going to be covering today, and it is going to be, we talked about the nations matchup. It was Italy versus Russia. This time it's France versus Turkey. Loading, Holo and Vinch looking to fend off the attacks of Team Rex-Regon-Keon. Huso and Chemko looking to fight for a spot in Division 2 and continue to show that Turkey is one hot nation competitively. Stay with us, grab a snack, grab a beverage, stay hydrated, very important these very hot days over in Europe, and make sure to stick around because Overdrive is still not done and the action returns right after this.